You hear the word NATO in the news almost every week. But what is it really? The story is older and stranger than most people think. Rewind to 1949. World War II has just ended. Much of Europe is in ruins, and the Soviet Union now controls the eastern half of the continent. So 12 countries in Europe and North America sign a treaty and form an alliance. The idea is simple: stand together, so no one dares attack any of them alone. But it was never only about the Soviets. NATO's first leader, Lord Ismay, later summed up its real purpose in one famous line. NATO existed, he said, to keep the Russians out, the Americans in, and the Germans down. Read that again. Two of those three were supposed to be on the same side. The alliance was also a way to tie America to Europe's defense and to make sure Germany never rose as a military threat again. At the center of NATO is one rule, Article 5. An attack on one member counts as an attack on all. It sounds absolute, but here's the part most people miss. Article 5 does not automatically mean war. The exact words say each country will take such action as it deems necessary. The Americans insisted on that phrasing because the U.S. Senate refused to let a treaty drag the country into a war on its own. So Article 5 is not a trigger that fires by itself. It is a promise each member chooses whether to keep, and in more than 70 years, that promise has been officially triggered exactly once. Not to protect a small, vulnerable country, but to defend the United States, the most powerful military on Earth, the day after the September 11th attacks. NATO has also broken apart from the inside. In 1966, France's President Charles de Gaulle decided the alliance leaned too heavily on American control. France stayed in NATO on paper, but pulled its military out of the shared command and told NATO to move its headquarters off French soil. That is why NATO is based in Brussels today. France did not fully return for 43 years. Then comes the most argued about moment of all. In 1990, as the Soviet Union was collapsing, U.S. Secretary of State James Baker told the Soviet leader, Gorbachev, that NATO would not move 1 inch eastward. He was talking specifically about East Germany. And no such promise was ever written into a treaty. But over the next 30 years, NATO did expand east, adding one former communist country after another. Russia still points to that conversation as a betrayal. Historians still argue over whether it ever truly was one. The expansion has not stopped. Finland joined in 2023, roughly doubling NATO's land border with Russia overnight. Sweden followed in 2024, and in 2025, every member agreed to spend up to 5% of their economy on defense, the biggest military buildup since the Cold War. NATO's own chief called it a turning point. Quick one before we get to the big question. If you like getting the real story behind the headlines, explained straight, that is this whole channel. Drop a like and subscribe, or follow wherever you are watching, so the next one comes straight to you. So what is NATO really? Not an army. It is a promise, a bet that if enough countries swear to fight for each other, no one will dare start the fight in the first place. For more than 70 years, that bet held. Without ever firing a shot at the enemy, it was built to stop. The question no one can fully answer is this: did that promise keep Europe at peace, or did stretching it eastward help spark the very war it was meant to prevent? Right now, that promise is being tested again.